So I've kind of dissed Trap, and perhaps pretty unfairly. Really, I was just trying to say that Zest is the best Protoss player around. But the truth is, I probably haven't watched enough Trap games to make such grandiose statements. So I kind of want to correct that by making sure I watch a Trap series, and I've managed to find one that's against a top Terran. And speaking of Trap, he's opened up the series with the economic pylon placement. It's tucked in tightly to his mineral line. This is going to maximize his mining time while he gets his initial buildings up. I do like this against Byun, who's certainly been known to skip the Reaper as of late. Just a quick public service announcement. If you want to lose weight on the Atkins diet, you might consider eating a burger, but without the Byun!
Current world rank 14.
Byun's opponent is in the same class as tripwires, landmines, and vengeful ex-girlfriends. He's a trap!
Current world rank 8.
I know, I'm going to a very warm place. I should also cover off before we get too far into this that we are on the map Lightshade. With 14 mineral nodes, you can get some pretty long games. Anywho, Trap gets himself an early scout, but he's also going to give himself an opportunity to delay Byun's command center. We'll watch his mineral count to see if it floats over 400. It does. Byun's got a Marine coming out to fix this situation. Trap's got his own Nexus down. He's going to try to earn himself one of those microscopic edges. The Marine shows up and Byun is able to get his CC down. Oh, Trap tried to come back for another peek. That's a first blood. Core is done already. Let's see what Trap has planned. Chrono boosted Stalker with Warp Gate research, but forget that. Look what Byun's got going on. A Marauder with an early concussive shell upgrade. Leave it to the guy famous for Reapers and Marines to surprise us by opening up with concussive shells. Oh, and he's making a second racks before factory. Byun is definitely up to something. No tech choice for Trap yet. He's following up with an Adept. There it is, it's a Twilight Council. Something I've never commented on before is that 36 seconds, the Twilight Council is the fastest Protoss tech choice. You can get it up faster than the Robo and the Stargate. Is that poor Stalker actually going to wander right up into the concussive grade Marauder? This is some bad rock, scissor, paper for Trap. 2 Marauders and he can't escape. Forget Blink being done, I'm not sure if it's even under contemplation. And suddenly it looks like a terrific start for Byun. The Lone Stalker's supposed to come over and bully unstimmed Marines, but instead it's upgraded Marauders. The Adept's going to be able to shade away at least, but if he completes that shade, he's not going to have the Adept at home to defend. Well, I guess in the positive column, he can take over control of Byun's natural. That's pretty good economically. Oh, and he got the Scout on the stim. And Trap does appreciate the threat. He's making a shield battery back at home. It's going to finish in time. He just kind of like needs a combat unit to take advantage of it. Okay, here comes the Stalker. 3 probes are going to help out here. Even with that battery, can he hold? Byun thinks so. He's backing off. That's going to give Trap time to finish his Warp Gate research. And he's got Blink underway. Starport for Byun. That Adept is being a pest. But a newly minted Marauder is going to chase it off. Oh, is Byun even going to get the kill here? He will! This is pretty efficient for Byun. He hasn't lost a unit yet. Oh, and if you'd all quickly turn your dial to channel 7, we can quickly witness the opening Warp Gate ceremony. Has anyone actually ever done a study on the long-term health implications of traveling by Warp Gate? I feel like the Iron Municipal Council should really look into that. But forget that, look what's lying in the weeds here. Byun's massed up his forces and he's looking to try again. 3 Marauders, 3 Marines. Trap's adding a pair of gates and a Robo, whereas Byun is already getting a medevac out of his starport. His factory's finishing up a reactor. Oh, here we go! Oh, no we don't, no we don't. Byun gets a head count in the number of Stalkers and decides this isn't his moment. Do Stalkers actually have heads? I'm not entirely sure. I know they don't spend a lot of time at the barber shop, but that's not necessarily definitive. Forge goes down for Trap, and Byun's making reactored Widow Mines. And since he's got that single medevac about to pop out, you gotta be wondering, are we looking at a Widow Mine drop? Oh, yeah, look at that rally. Trap is looking to add the robotics bay. It's pretty clear that Byun's making his usual commitment to bio, and Splash will be essential. But he has squeezed an observer out of his robo. He actually makes 2 and then starts an immortal. Both our players are starting +1 attack. So the medevac loaded with 2 Widow Mines is out on the map, and it doesn't look like the observer was in time to pick it up. But it should pull off a scout of Byun's base. Trap will count the Raxes and have a pretty good idea what's going on. But he's not going to see the reactor on the factory. He might be wondering though where Byun's army is if it's not in his base. Is he going to catch it moving out? Bunker salvage, the international sign of confidence. I'm pretty sure the observer caught that. So it looks like Byun's main force is going to attack the front and the Widow Mines are going to swing around the back. And in theory this should all hit before Zealot legs and Colossus range can kick in. Byun's halfway there already and he's sending additional medevacs to reinforce. The observer definitely saw that. Trap's putting down a 3rd base. Not an ideal time to be putting money into economy. Oh, I got it wrong. The back door is the distraction. 1 Widow Mine in the natural. There's a probe pull. Defensive blink forward gets the interception. Trap snipes the medevac. But with the stalkers out of position, Byun moves in. A sentry gets an important force field up just before it dies. But it was enough to delay the bio. Byun's gonna pick up and get out. Great defense by Trap. I thought that was gonna be so much worse. He cleans up that Widow Mine in the natural. There's only 2 probe kills. Byun though had minimal losses. He continues to lead on economy and he has the larger army. Now he's looking to reinforce the attack, this time with tanks. Trap's gamble in starting that early 3rd paid off. Byun's gonna try to catch up by starting his triangular 3rd on the low ground directly. I'm starting to feel like Byun's turning his attack throttle on. When he gets in this mode, he just starts attacking and he never stops. Byun's not making any SCVs. He is adding in Vikings to deal with the Colossi though. This poor scout is going to provide value to Ire, but he's also going to be very dead. And now Byun's going to drive his forces at that 3rd base. And it just finished. I mean, poor Trap just drove the thing off the dealership parking lot. Byun stims and goes at the pylon. He gets it, and that removes the shield battery from the equation. Then Byun pulls back to suck everybody into the range of his tank. But with 2 Colossi, there should be enough to hold here. There's the blink forward on the tank. He's gonna get it. And everything else gets burned away. The medevacs pick up 1 Marauder. And with that defense, Trap marches closer to evening up on supply. And since his Nexus survived for the moment, he's evened up on mining. But Byun is not done. He's added 2 more Raxes, and he continues to reactor out Vikings to deal with the Colossi. Trap, though, has finished a battle dock. With that Templar Archive, he can now make Archons. Trap's actually only got 3 Stalkers left. Pretty soon he's actually going to have more Colossi than Stalkers. In the meantime, Trap is sending out some Zealot Ninjas. He needs to keep Byun honest and force him to think about his defense. Byun's kind of staked out this high ground position in the middle of the map, which he can use to launch and stage his attacks against Trap. Trap is probably going to need more than a single Zealot to take on Byun, which might be why he's increasing his gate count from 5 up to the magic number 8. That is the number that Protoss can typically sustain if they have a functional economy. These Zealot Ninjas might be a bit more like Zealot Samurai. They seem to be into seppuku. Trap morphs his first Archon. Certainly useful against Bio, maybe not so much against Byun Bio. Trap's also gone back to making Stalkers though. Not too sure how useful that will be with Byun making Marauders 3 at a time. Okay, it's another attack on the natural. There's not a lot of defense there, and the first warp gate's gonna fall. Trap's decided to pick off the stream of reinforcements and try to hit Byun from behind. His tanks are exposed, but the Colossi have been found by the Vikings. And Byun's bio is gonna cut to the mineral line. And this time, forget the Nexus, it's gonna be a probe massacre. 15 die in the blink of an eye. Well, let's be honest, maybe it was 2 blinks. And now he turns his attention on the Templar Archive, not the battle dock. No. 3 Colossi arrive for the rescue. Byun kills the Templar Archive, picks up, and then drops into the main. Which was less spectacular than it sounded because Trap was there, showing me why Stalkers are still useful in a Marauder world. Well, yes, Trap got the cleanup, but this time the economic damage was severe. Now Byun's leading on workers, he's leading on army, he's leading on income. And since he's got a Ghost Academy now, he's gotta be at least equal on tech. No actual ghosts in production though, it's all Marine Marauder getting built. Trap's desperately trying to rebuild his robo and replenish his probes. Byun showing patience, he's adding missile turrets. I think he's anticipating that Trap could try to Dark Shrine his way out of this. That is not the case. Trap is just trying to rebuild everything he lost, including his Templar archive. Byun seems to be leaving him alone though. I feel like Byun should be attacking or expanding. It's not like Byun's doing nothing though. He is massing units. Oh, and as I say this, he adds another command center. And now he is pushing out with a fearsome army. Byun is researching enhanced shockwaves. That's the upgrade that increases the radius of the EMP. No sign of actual ghosts yet, but I think it's fair to say that they are on the menu. Maybe like a dessert menu after this main army plows the third as the main course. Trap is right on point with his force fields yet again, but I don't know if he has enough to hold. Byun sees the battery overcharge, he pulls back to let his tanks deal with that. Oh, Trap does have some ninja zealots wrecking havoc at Byun's third, but Byun's reinforcements might be enough to just clean this up by themselves. Yeah, Byun's not taking the bait and pulling his army back home. Meanwhile, Trap's shield battery has been blown to bits. Trap's looking to dislodge the Terran with a disruptor. That's a good choice, but Byun is being aggressive. Trap swings his forces to the low ground and pulls back. He wants to recruit his last remaining shield battery. The Vikings go at the Colossi, the Blink Stalkers blink forward to defend. The Zealots are trying to hold off Byun's bio, but there's just so much. Trap's dumping all his money into trying to get more disruptors on the field. He can make them 2 at a time. Byun is looking to reinforce his main army with ghosts. Enhanced shockwaves is just about done here. Trap's Archons are almost pure shields, so they're very vulnerable to this kind of thing. Oh yeah, here come the ghosts. EMP rounds. The Colossi quickly snuff out the ghosts, but then Byun follows it up. Byun spots the disruptors behind his forces and kills them. And it's GG. With his last gambit expended, Trap taps out for game number 1. Well, that was pretty decisive, but I find Byun victories always seem to look that way. So, I harped on composition probably more than I should have in this game. It's rare that at the pro level it becomes such a huge issue, but it was really smart of Byun in the opening. Bear with me here, but Trap did sort of a poor man's Max Pax build. He rushed out a Stalker to pressure the Terran. Byun often goes for reactored Marines right out of the gate, and pre-stim a microed Stalker can really cut them down. I like the idea because you get the pressure that you would with a proxy, but for the price of a few extra seconds delay, you don't have a gateway sitting near your opponent's base, and you can later use your original gateway all game long. Despite my liking it, it totally failed, because Byun surprised Trap by going for Marauders with concussive shells, getting a late factory and late starport to do it. Trap, though, kept making Stalkers. Byun kept making Marauders. Stalkers are armored, Marauders do extra damage to Stalkers, and without blink, the Marauders just cut them down. Trap knows Byun is going bio, so he wants Colossi to deal with that. But once you go Colossi, the Terran is probably going to get Vikings to deal with your Colossi. If you want your Colossi to survive, you need to kill the Vikings. Trap didn't have starport tech, so that really limits his options. In that case, Stalkers are really the only realistic option to battle the Vikings. Byun anticipates that and keeps making Marauders, and it just gets worse and worse for Trap. Trap eventually gets the Zealot leg upgrade, and his Zealots are pretty solid against the Marauders on a dollar per dollar basis. If Terran wants to plan for Zealots, they're supposed to get Hellions, but Byun only has a single factory and doesn't have the upgrades to support a mech build anyway. So I really like the Zealots, but there weren't enough, and they didn't have the numeric upgrades. By the time Trap gets his Archons going, which is another good alternative, Byun already has Ghosts, and that's the game. So, game 1 goes to Zest. Oops, did I say that? I meant Byun. Never mind that. Let's go to game 2. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Operation Live.
Brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today to see if Trap has an answer to what Byun is bringing. And he'll get that chance on the map we know as Oxide. And there's our first difference already. Trap prefers the Reaper block position on this map, but apparently what he really needs is a Marauder block position, and that just hasn't been invented yet. Little Starcraft trivia for you. The Marauder actually replaced the Firebat in Starcraft 2 early on in the game's development. It's also one of the reasons why the Warhound never made it in. So don't mess with the Marauder. Anywho, intro time. You just can't do an intro of our Protoss player in the bottom left without reference to the famous Admiral Akbar, who warns us,
"It's a trap!"
So Byun's won a game, but it's a best of 3 series. By my math, that means the number of games he still needs to win to clinch this is exactly Byun! Okay, so Trap has a scout out on the map, and in game 1 he used it to get a pretty good delay on Byun's command center. Let's see if something similar plays out here. Trap's gateway is gonna finish. He'll be putting a core down to complete that Reaper block position of his buildings. But let's see what Byun does when his Rax finishes up. A single Marine before reactor. He did this in game 1, and he used it to get a first blood off of that scouting probe. Let's see if Trap has it hang around the same way he did in game 1. Trap puts down his own Nexus, and the delay on Byun's command center begins. Byun's devoted 2 SCVs to the war effort this time, and he gets it down a little bit faster. Trap 2 has also learned from game 1. He's getting his probe out of there. Here's our inaugural mule, and that usually warns us that the core is about to complete. That's when we get to learn what Trap might be up to. It's a chrono-boosted adept with an immediate warp gate research. But it's Byun who's the most interesting to me. No tech lab this time, he's going for a reactor on that Rax. This is what Trap thought he'd do in game 1. He's not gonna lose that probe again, is he? No he's not. And Byun's gonna get a faster factory this time around. None of these double Rax shenanigans. It's another Twilight Council for Trap. He might be sticking to his game 1 plan. We might get to find out how it plays out if he doesn't meet a boatload of Marauders. Trap is making a Stalker next. Byun with that bunker at the natural. The Stalker is not being rallied over to the Terran base this time. It looks like Trap intends to keep it at home. Byun's bunker may not be too useful. Hold that thought. Adept shading in for the scout here. She's gonna see the reactor, but nothing else. And that includes his starport for Byun's 111 build. He does finally get to see the reactor though, that's something. And that intel gives him enough confidence to start Blink at his Twilight Council. It takes 121 seconds to get Blink. But since Byun still doesn't have a tech lab, there's a good chance that Trap is gonna have Blink before Byun gets Stim. Byun wanted to sneak out a Widow Mine before he started that tech lab. Oh, and he's making a second one. This really feels like a Widow Mine drop to me. The Adept's still trying to shade in, but the door is closed. You know how they always lie to you and say when one door closes, another one opens? Ask any Adept and they will tell you. It's not exactly true. But what is true is that we've got a medevac on the way. So I'm feeling pretty good about saying we're looking at a Widow Mine drop here. There's mine number 2. Now for Protoss, we've got a robot. Whoa, the Adept just got in. I guess there is an open door. She's gonna get the scout on everything. She's gonna get the complete tour of Byun's base. Oh my god, is the Adept actually gonna shade out and escape? No. That's a first blood, but the drop has just lost all of its surprise value. Meanwhile, Trap is warping in 3 more gates. It's gonna be Blink Stalker Observer or Blink Stalker Warp Prism. And either way, he's gonna have the vision to blink right into Byun's main. It's a Warp Prism, and it's about to be backed by 4 gates. Meanwhile, Byun adding an extra Rax and a Raven. Oh, look at this. Trap knows about the drop, so he's got his Stalkers trying to intercept it in the middle of the map. He has not guessed Byun's route though. Byun is cutting to the left. He's going for the main. Trap does have a Stalker presence there. Here's the boost. The Stalkers find it. Byun with that pullback. Solid defense by Trap, but nothing lost by Byun. He's displaying that uber efficiency that he showed us in game 1. Trap's Warp Prism's out, and a lot of his Stalkers are already on the north side of the map. Oh, but not that one. The medevac dropped a Widow Mine, hiding it in the weeds. That was such a random location, it was completely unexpected. Byun's gonna try it again here, but this time Trap's going right for the cliff. He's gonna bypass the mine. Byun has one tank, but he's got no bunker in his main and he hasn't started stim. This is bad for Byun. This can be highly effective. Trap staying out of range of that tank. The good news for Byun though is Trap can't snipe any add-ons. Trap's gonna pick up and get out of there. I thought that was gonna be a lot worse, but the stalker count just wasn't that high. Oh, Trap's observer picked up the second Widow Mine. That's a relief for Trap. A full round of 4 stalkers warps in and suddenly Trap's looking even scarier than before. Stim has started. Trap is swinging for the main. Byun has to get his tank siege back up. Oh, Trap blinks on it. Oh, that was an absolutely sick snipe. And then this bunker is no match for 11 stars. Not a lot of Marauders here this time, just a lot of unstim Marines. Byun has to pull his SCVs to screen for his units. Okay, Byun's got a replacement siege tank up there. That should make it hard for Trap to reinforce. 6 probe kills, Trap takes the worker lead, and he has started his third. The economic chevrons all point to Trap. And Trap has map control right now. It'll be very hard for Byun to get a command center out at a third base location right now. Byun has shifted gears to Marauders and tanks though. If he can catch a breather, he can turn this around. But Trap may not give it to him if he takes another shot at the main base. Byun's army's focused on his natural. Warp Prism glides in and there's the blink up. 2 siege tanks in good position. His add-ons will be protected. But all those early warning depots are going to be forfeit. Byun gets supply blocked. Trap gets out with most of his army. His third's about to finish and he started Zealot legs. It's always more impressive when your Zealots have lower limbs. Byun's getting a handle on his upgrades here. Stim almost done, +1 almost done, combat shields on the way. And with 3 more depots on the way, he can deal with that supply block. But Trap is really taking advantage of his lead here. He's adding 3 more gates. He's about to live in a gated community. This'll take him to 7 gates, which will be quite formidable. I think Byun either has to get on the offense or get himself a third base. Was Trap making another play for the main with a smaller force? No, he takes a look at what's up top there now and thinks better of it. Byun's Raven is going to try to clear out the observers surrounding his base. No! Trap blinks forward with a really wicked save. Just scorches that auto turret. I was going to say, this is kind of like the equivalent of cleaning up Zerg creep. You can't allow your opponent to have that vision ringing around your base. 8 Marines are going to sneak out with the medevac. And I'm not really sure what that comm stat was for. There's so many observers out there that Byun's paranoid. He thought he saw one in his own natural. This drop did evade the net though. It's an opportunity for Byun to get back in this game. It's not like the third base is unguarded though. Oh, check this. Trap's got an observer checking for when Byun moves out of his base. Which he is, and then Trap blinks across to attack the vulnerable SCVs. That was beautiful and devious. Byun has to return home to deal with that. And then Trap recalls the Warp Prism, which is perfect timing because the Marine drop is here. Byun has to pull that back, but he did force a probe pull. But still without a third base, Byun knows he's got to do some economic damage. He's trying to move out again. His tank count is looking formidable if he can get that sieged up in the right place. With his econ lead, Trap just has to hold. He arrays his army for a big-time concave. The 2 base Byun is going to have to be efficient if he's going to pull this off. Fortunately, he is Byun. The bait Marines step forward. Oh, Trap thinks he's got this. He's charging in. He's going to eat some tank fire. He does, but he blinks on those tanks. He's going to reset Byun's tank count. Oh, this is bad for Byun. He's only got a single factory. He has to send in his SCVs. Byun may be going all in here. He's pulled the boys. Or at least a pretty big percentage. SCVs versus Immortals. And of course the SCVs are winning because they're Byun SCVs. Yeah, they better pull back there. That's like that scene in Cloud City where Han Solo's chasing away all the stormtroopers just by screaming at them. So that was really cool, but that stunt cost Byun 19 SCVs. His worker count has been decimated. I guess the good news is now he really doesn't need a third base. Byun is not showing any signs of trying to rebuild his economy either. He's actually adding in a Liberator. That's a good choice if Trap's actually going to switch to Zealots now. Byun's always just kind of one step ahead. He's got his Marauder count up to deal with the Stalkers. So he's anticipating that Trap's going to try something else. And if he goes with the obvious choice of Zealots, a Liberator will be pretty good. Trap's actually researching Storm. The advantage to him for getting his splash out of Storm is it leaves his Robo free to keep making Immortals. He couldn't really have any last game because he was too busy making Colossi. Byun has pulled back, but that's not ideal because he can't catch up to Trap economically. Oh, and Trap's not just going to defend. He's actually going to do a Zealot bomb drop here, I think. The only problem is Byun had no SCVs left in his natural. Byun should be able to get the cleanup here, but this is not the distraction he wanted. He needs to pull off this Marauder-intensive raid. There are 2 tanks and a Liberator in there, and a whole bunch of SCVs. I think this is Byun's last hurrah. The pink circle of doom goes down, but Trap links right into it. He had enough Stalkers to take it out. There's even a shield battery reinforcing those Zealots. That is GG. Trap says, take that, Zest. I mean, Byun. You can tell my fake Zest Trap rivalry is very much on my mind. So, Trap brings us good old Blink Stalkers in the Terran main. This build has been given Terran fits periodically since the Wings of Liberty. As Taylor Swift says, it never goes out of style. Can we just pretend I didn't say that? Normally, when you see Blink Stalkers, Terran's standard response is to add that second bunker in the main. Otherwise, the Stalkers feast on your add-ons, they delay your stim, and that can be game ending. Here, what was really interesting to me was Byun didn't bother, and it didn't really cost him. He was able to cover his production with his tank placement alone. And Trap never punished him by cutting around to his mineral line. Instead, Trap goes for the natural and pulls off this absolutely wicked snipe on the high ground tank before it can reset. And he starts taking a lead from there. That wasn't a spontaneous reaction. That was predictive. He knew he'd pull the tank out of position. He knew Byun was going to try to put it back. I might have to concede Trap is pretty good. But the great news is now we have a tied series. Let's settle this. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Operation Live.
The map gods have decided. We will settle this best of 3 on Romanticide. Which is kind of neat because if memory serves me correctly, Byun has kind of a unique Sim City that he plays out on this map. He packs everything over to the left-hand side of his main. We'll see if he does it here. Anywho, Trap has planted what we call the economic pylon, similar to how he did in Game 1. Can't really read into that other than the fact that he's not Reaper blocking. Byun hasn't opened up with the Reaper yet, so this makes some sense. There's the gate. There's the racks. You'll notice that it's packed over on the left-hand side there. His ramp is left open. Protoss is doing a gate and go. Perhaps because he's the best Protoss in the world. He is Zest! Just kidding, he is Trap. I know I'm evil and I don't deserve a microphone. Let me tell you about our Terran player in the top left. He is the only positive integer divisible by exactly 1 positive integer. He is Byun! It is the loneliest number. All kidding aside, I really do love that we can have a debate over who's the best Protoss in the world right now. You're totally allowed to disagree with me. You'll just happen to be wrong if you do. Oh, that rally point on the gateway looks offensive. It's headed all the way to Byun's base. It's so offensive it's probably got some swear words in it. No, it's been cancelled. No Reaper for Byun. He's going with that Marine again. And he's going straight to factory. He's going to get a slower command center this time. Unlike Game 1 and Game 2, there's no CC for that probe to delay. The Nexus is right on schedule though. So Byun showcasing 3 different openings in all 3 games. Contrast that to a lot of Terran players who roll out the same build every single time. Little bit of Groundhog Day for that poor probe. He's gonna die just like Game 1. But unlike Bill Murray, he might not awaken at the Cherry Tree Inn. Core completes for Protoss. We have an Adept with Chrono Boost, and once again immediate Warp Gate research. Trap really follows the current trend in which a Protoss player will delay their initial tech choice in favor of a faster Nexus. Byun did the opposite, tech before CC. And now Game 3 is starting to ramp up as the Adept is gonna head over to Byun's turf. She might flash a couple of gang signs, but she will not be welcome. Look at this, Trap's even putting down a second gateway before he selects any tech. I am getting interested. Byun going for reactored Hellions. That's new too. I am pleased as punch, but what does it all mean? There's also a rogue probe on the map with no apparent purpose. Here's the shade. Byun's let it in before, but not this time. That ramp looks so weird without the racks in the center. Yeah, this probe is downright suspicious, like proxy suspicious. Meanwhile, Trap starts a robo at home. Oh, the Hellions just missed getting sight of that. No, they didn't see it. Oh, but they're going back. They do get it. Byun with the sixth sense. How did he know? Maybe that was a routine check, but if so, that was some good due diligence. Trap cancels the pylon and plants another one further back. If at first you don't succeed, proxy again. He's also adding that shield battery to his main for safety. 4 Hellions pushing out for the Terran. Pylon completes, warp gate research is done. Oh, I don't think that Adept has enough firepower to stop these Hellions. Byun's gonna ignore the Adept and go right by it. Oh, there's a maximum temperature rating on those probes. It has been exceeded. Probes are dying. 5 kills already. Meanwhile, Trap has a rush of his own. He's warped in 2 Stalkers from his proxy. Hellions go for the main, but there's that shield battery there. They will get cleaned up by those Stalkers. And Trap snipes the Marine before it can get in the bunker. Byun pulls his SCVs to fight. There's only Marines without Stimpack here, but they are gonna get in the bunker. And then a siege tank arrives, and that's the end of the Stalkers run. But neat little attacks by both our players. I think it's gonna be official. This is a no-holds-barred game. Trap wins on resources lost, but it's Byun who got the most worker kills. I think that gives him an early edge, but Trap's just getting started. He starts a quick third base, and he's got his 3rd observer in production already. He is determined to keep an eye on Byun. More to point, his Stalkers are acting like he's expecting a cloaked Banshee to show up any moment. We know that's not the case. Byun's gone instead with a Raven, which he will use to go after all those observers that Trap's making. Byun's compositional choices have been superb all series long. He's actually also making a Viking. We'll have to see how he uses that. It's pretty good for taking out hallucinated phoenixes, for example. Okay, so Trap's sneaking one of his observers around Byun's base. He's gonna try to get himself the grand tour here. But since Byun builds everything on the left side of the main, he's kind of on the wrong side. The starport has given up the tech lab to the barracks, and that means Byun can finally start up Stim. It's a little bit later than in other games. Okay, the observer is gonna make it to Byun's production facilities, but then it gets spotted. And the Raven Viking combo is just gonna take it right out. Who needs Comstat Marine? This is old school. What Trap didn't see was any sign of a 3rd base. That's gotta make Trap nervous. Is he getting 2-based? Byun does have the much larger army. Trap actually has the worker lead, which is quite remarkable when you think about all the probes that he lost. So that tells us that Byun's massing up military units, and he means to use them. Well, that poor Phoenix is just gonna find the Viking. Oh, why am I worried about his feelings? He's just an hallucination. Why do I say these things? Now the Society for Hallucinated Units is gonna be on my case. Let's head off this PR disaster. I apologize to the SHU, or whatever the acronym is. Byun with another observer takedown. I just noticed for the first time, if you zoom in on 4K, you can actually see the bandolier of bullets going into that turret. Just when you think you've seen everything in this game, there's still some detail that comes along and blows your mind. Yes, it does look like Byun's gonna try to wield this beefy army of his. He's got his tank count up to 4, and Stimpack's gonna finish up before he hits. Trap got himself a Templar archive and is researching Storm. We saw him try for that as a splash in Game 2, but he kinda won the game before it became a factor. In Game 1, he tried to get a splash out of Colossi, and that did not go well for him. Byun sort of looks like he's making a play for the 4th base, but there isn't one there. Though there is a nice gaggle of Protoss units for him to kill. Trap's gonna pull back. He's figured out he's smaller. He's just about added 2 more gates. That'll take him up to 8, and he can get that giant warp in he needs. Oh, Byun's tanks are gonna get position over the natural. This can be so hard to dislodge. He's got the air units for vision too. Trap has to pull everything back or is just gonna get hammered. There's a Marine drop, but it's covered by tank fire. Trap can't walk into that barrage. He can't concede his natural. It looks like he's picking up his army and swinging left. Is he going to try for a counterattack, or is he hoping to dislodge it from a crazy angle? Trap's making immortals. That's what he needs to survive that tank fire. He's hoping the battery overcharge can buy him some time. But Byun's not going anywhere. He's going to try for the dislodge. The Protoss army's trying to psych itself up. Dudes, this is going to hurt, but we got to do it. It's like a band-aid. Rip it right off. Trap charges and eats the tank fire. But he gets his zealots on the tanks. He's cleaning them up. Trap is gonna hold. His extra base may have been the difference maker, buying him the extra units he needed to throw away. But now Byun has been scattered, and he's feeling the effects of being behind economically. His response? More Raxes. And Widow Mines, apparently. He stopped making tanks in favor of Widow Mines. Yeah, Byun's not licking his wounds or adding a third. He's trying again. It's a Marauder heavy force backed by Widow Mines. He's gonna try to stim up the ramp. Byun lands the anti-armor missile. It hits just about everything Trap has. It may be aesthetically mispleasing, but it drops the armor by 3 on all of Trap's units. I think Trap's storm hit his own zealots harder than it hit the Marauders. But Trap still got the money, and he's put down double forge to help him catch up on upgrades. And by swinging by his shield battery, he managed to buff up all his units again. For the second time, Byun is going home. He's teching for Ghost now, working on the enhanced shockwave upgrade. That secured game 1 for him. Look at that, double chrono boost on +1/+1. Oh, and Trap is gonna reuse his proxy. Byun's gonna regret leaving that pylon behind. Trap with the recycle. These are enviro-friendly zealots. Their intergalactic carbon footprint is quite minimal. And they're gonna plant a tree for every SCV they murder. Actually, just one Widow Mine, but not a bad pickoff. But Trap zealots are reporting the bad news. Byun got a third base and dropped some mules there. His 3 Nexus isn't cutting it anymore. Neither is that Raven's entry point. Trap has that well covered. Byun's gonna deal with that proxy pylon. He even stimmed a few of his Marauders just to make sure that it was emphatically destroyed. This proxy pylon, I don't like it. And Trap isn't gonna like this Ghost Academy. He's working on his Robo Bay. And a second Robo. He really wants Colossi or Disruptors. We'll find out which. I think the Zealots that he stormed lodged a complaint, and now he's not allowed to use Templar anymore. He did, though, shrewdly backdoor mine. That's gonna let him put down his 4th in a safer location. 1-1's about to finish for Trap. That's gonna be the end of the Terran upgrade advantage. Byun working on his 4th base. In the meantime, Trap is still down on supply, but the army gap is not nearly as bad as it once was. And here comes a zealot-loaded warp prism. Trap will see the Ghost Academy as he goes by the natural, but his target is the main. Byun does have some bio ready to pop out. Bad luck on the timing for Trap. He did get Byun to pull back his army though. That counts for something. Though does it count for as much as a lost warp prism? I'm not so sure. Trap's trying to keep me guessing here. He's going double disruptor out of his robos, but also the Colossus range upgrade, thermal lance. Trap really gets the fundamentals of TVP. You've got to have splash to deal with that killer bio. And for the next few seconds, he really doesn't have it. Byun still trying to deny the 4th at the wrong location. Oh, another anti-armor missile hits. And then there's a feedback on the Raven in retaliation. But then Byun's Ghost EMP the Templar. There will be no Storm. Forget Storm, says Trap. How about Nova Beams? Oh! 2 great connections. Everything was going right for Byun there. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom. For the first time in this game, Byun has the smaller army. Byun is stutter stepping for his life. Trap once again has the economic advantage. His 4th is up and running. He celebrates by researching Blink, the key to his victory in Game 2. Extended Thermal Lance is almost done. Maybe then he'll even make a Colossus to go with it. Trap's making probes 4 at a time, and he's trying to rebuild his Templar count. He has Disruptor blasted his way back into this game, and now the pressure's all on Byun. He starts up his +3 attack. He's lifted off his 4th command center and he's sending it to a mineral node. But at the same time, he's staying active on the map. Byun almost never stops attacking. He's got two divided forces. He's looking to out-multitask his opponent. I love it when he does this. The western force finds the fourth base. It's only lightly guarded. Trap has to rush over to defend, dumping all his minerals into warping in zealots. Byun's eastern force drops into the natural. Trap's getting a handle on the western battle, and a battery overcharge is keeping his photon cannon in the fight. Or it was until Byun killed it. Trap is held, but his armies drop back down in size. He's got a bank though, I think he can make that up. This has really devolved into a backyard scrap. Trap forcing the liftoff at Byun's would-be fourth. Byun making Marauders 5 at a time. I feel like we're officially taking this game into overtime. And to celebrate that, Trap is gonna make a Colossus. Oh, Byun's gonna do another drop in the natural. This guy just never stops to attack. Nova Blast! Hot pickup by Byun. He does not want to be purified today. Byun's medevac cloud is reaching scary proportions. He's kind of reached that magic point where he can stim his army without consequence. And he's going to test that capability by going after the fourth base. Byun leads with EMP shots, cleaning out those shields. And then there's those Widow Mines. There's a lot of disruptors here, but they're kind of losing their covering units. This is going to be close. Oh, Byun even dropped the main as well. But Trap cleaned that up, and he's forcing Byun back again. Trap's actually pushing him all the way back to his fourth base. It is officially a planetary fortress this time, though. He might be overextending here. Though nice snipe on that sentry tower. Byun with the medevac micro to snipe the disruptors. His force is on perma-stim. Trap's got more immortals than Byun has Marauders, and he's still doing this. Somehow Byun takes back the army lead. Oh, his fresh ghost just EMP'd the entire Protoss force. The Marauders form a concave and they clean it all up. I'm glad that Colossus got to make a cameo appearance. It shows up on the battlefield and instantly dies. Did Byun just switch into God mode? He's dropping on the fourth. Trap's army's depleted. Byun is not going to give him the chance to rebuild it. Trap's trying to recall in to defend, but it's just a warp prism. It gets instantly EMP'd. The fourth falls. It's hard to believe that's the first base to come down in this game. Oh, it's a guest appearance by additional Colossi. No, it was just a walk-on scene. EMPs mix with Storm and the Zealots take them both, but they can retreat to the battery overcharge. The Stalkers try to flank, but Byun has EMPs waiting for them too. It's a 30 supply army differential. Byun is reinforcing with additional bio. The EMPs have just not stopped. The trap dam is finally broken and Byun is pouring in like water. There's the GG! Byun takes the game. He takes the series. Zest is your winner. I mean, Byun is your winner. Sorry, I'll stop now. Apologies if my inside joke kind of marred the series a little bit. I recently cast this excellent series of Zest versus Byun, and I made the outlandish claim that Zest was actually the best Protoss in the world, not Trap. But I conceded that I really needed to see a series of Trap versus Byun to really be able to say that. Well, now I have, and Byun kind of came through for me. But really though, we do need to have a Trap versus Zest series. But I guess in terms of TVP, Byun is a pretty good measuring stick. But I really enjoyed this series. Both players mixed up their builds quite a bit, kept me guessing. The final game was razor close. I think Byun just suddenly stim-packed himself at the end there. Took his game to a higher level and went right at an exhausted Trap. Anywho, as always, I want to thank all the new recent subscribers. It really helps the channel out. So permit me to just say, from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your Starcraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your Starcraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.